Does it strike you as odd that there aren't any, and there aren't really, any records of people getting sunburnt, apart from, I guess, in extreme situations where they were helpless, legionnaires in the desert, etc. Apart from those extreme cases, there just aren't cases of sunburn being a thing. I think there's a number of reasons for that. I think the main ones, as far as I currently understand it, is that we have started chasing the sun to get tanned as an aesthetic thing. That seems pretty true. I think another reason is we have much more leisure time. I think another reason is we feel the benefit of it. Everyone knows that feeling of having a nice tan. And I think that's probably, I really mean everyone. Why would you not? So there's those kind of obvious reasons. I think there's also other reasons that are more on the kind of kooky side, I guess, or at least off the mainstream. And one of them, I think the most important one of these, is the sunscreen industry. The first sunscreens were organic. The Romans used oils, and people have used kind of plant extracts, and I would imagine, silts and things for millennia. And the first sunscreens were mineral based. I don't know if it was zinc or titanium oxide, titanium oxide, and they are mineral sunscreens. They literally block the sun. And then they started realizing that they could produce sunscreens, things that took away the UV radiation. Can't remember if it's UVA or B or both, but took away the damaging photoaging UV radiation, and they work by the UV radiation makes a molecule that is generally some kind of benzene or has some kind of benzene ring. Whenever you see lists of toxic chemicals in our lives, benzenes are always pretty close to the top of them. So these molecules, they are both in themselves damaging to biology. And when they take in the energy from the sun and break down, those breakdown products, and these reactions are incredibly complex, even just in like a singular application of one of these molecules. But when you have lots of different kind of versions of these molecules in the sunscreen, and then you've got other products, etc., it just becomes a kind of chaos of these breakdown remnants. And it does seem, and it seems also plausible, that they're going to be pretty damaging to biology. And they are. I think you can very easily now talk to any AI and see this to be the case. So there's that. That's one problem with sunscreens, or how we're dealing with using sunscreens to deal with the sun. Another one is that the sun is really, really good for us in so many ways. It's not just vitamin D. It is good for us in a signaling level, in a circadian rhythm level. Vast amounts of biological processes take place in our bodies and in our brains that are influenced by sunlight. Some of this stuff is quite kooky, others is just absolutely accepted science. So when you are lathering yourself in some crazy factor 50, you are essentially stopping that benefit, or interfering with that benefit. So I think that's another reason, the absence of the positive. There's the kind of innately negative, hold on while I cross the road, looking left and right. There's the innately negative, the kind of molecular damage caused by the sunscreens, by the chemical sunscreens, and there's the absence of good caused by the pure sunlight. There's a famous photo showing the sun, so showing a trucker, and half of an American trucker and half of his face was kind of super wrinkly in age and the other half wasn't. And it's kind of seen as an advert for protecting ourselves from sunlight, about the damaging effects of sunlight. Without doubt, sunlight is damaging. It's, you know, there's definitely a threshold. Without doubt, getting sunburnt is a terrible, terrible thing. You should try never ever to get sunburnt. I think it's probably lasting cellular DNA mitochondrial damage. So, you know, without doubt. But the idea, what's going on here? The idea of totally avoiding the sun is I think, very unwise. And so what can you do to find this sweet spot between protecting yourself from the sun and, oh, poor little dead bird, protecting yourself from the sun and getting enough sun for its kind of magic, its biological magic? I think, going back to how I started this video, talking about in olden times, oils, there is a myth that I remember from my early childhood of my grandmother saying to someone about how someone she knew used olive oil in the summer, and this would have been in like 1975, and she was talking about probably way back then, and they fried in the sun. And so for about 4 decades I remember carrying that with me. It's a kind of perpetual myth, I think. I wonder where it started. So recently, I say recently, I guess since 2015 when I went product free, recently I've kind of tested that myth countless times. I don't think I've been sunburnt in 10 years since being product free. I do use shade a lot. I do also think really kind of mindfully about training my body to react naturally to the sun. The key thing in that actually is not wearing sunglasses. I haven't worn sunglasses for just over 2 years, and that's a real game changer. It's relative to this question about kind of protecting yourself from the sun. It's a game changer because, and it does seem plausible, if you imagine a biological system that has this protective response to sunlight, and its main sensory organ for sunlight is the eyes, then it makes sense to think that the eyes and their sensing of sunlight is going to play a key role in setting up the mechanisms, the biological mechanisms for protecting us from the sun's damage. And that is true as well, not just does it seem plausible, that's, I think, the science. I'm in a traffic jam. The science absolutely supports that as well. And then from that it follows that if you are distorting or dimming or kind of deceiving your eyes and your brain by wearing sunglasses, then that response is not going to be optimal. That makes total sense to me. That response is not going to be optimal. So what I've noticed, I didn't really notice it the first year, I've only noticed it the last year, is, how I go by this, is that I seem to be able to last longer in the sun before I get that kind of I'm too hot or getting too much sunlight. It's quite tangible, and I do think that is the not wearing sunglasses. It's I think it makes a big difference. So I think, what am I on? I'll stop.